Welcome back to the ANS Way. Today we are going to do our weekly catch-up with you.
We've decided that we'll try and keep it brief, but we've been saying that for about 14 episodes, and they're always way longer than we expect. It's because of stuff like this.
Because you yap so much. Ant goes off on this tangent and he's got.
And I cut loads of it out as well.
But in this week's weekly catch-up, the first thing is.
I don't know.
Well, I went to the DMV. It was about 2 months ago. I went to do my knowledge test. So knowledge test is the same as the theory. Well, it's not the same. It's not the same as our theory test.
But it serves the same function as the theory and hazard perception test in the UK.
I went first and I failed. Anton went second and he passed.
In minutes. And then Selena was out in seconds and I spent the next just over 4 hours there, and it was hellish. And then a couple of weeks later, when I should have got my reward for spending that much time there, they told me to cancel my license due to issues with my immigration status, which we're not going to go into here because it's in previous videos, so go and have a look if you want to find out. And there's even a video with me upset about the DMV, so you can watch that one. It's like 6 minutes. It explains the issues.
Yeah, so we've had very different experiences, and initially for me, so I had to rebook for my knowledge test, and initially the next available appointment was in August. So that's the thing to think about. If you fail, you're going to probably have to wait a good few months.
Although you found a hack. So the hack is, it's not even a major hack, is book multiple appointments. So when you're doing your knowledge test, unlike the physical test or the driving test, you can book them, stack them up. So when you find that slot, book one after the other, maybe a week apart to give yourself time to revise. They won't cancel them. So if you don't pass, just do that.
Yeah, but you have to use a different email address. You can't use the same email address. If you try and do it the same one, it will recognise that you've already got an appointment. So I used a couple of email addresses because I failed the first one. I wasn't 100% sure, and I definitely didn't want to have to wait.
Maybe
3
just
months.
call it dmvfail1@gmail.com, dmvfail2.
But also, even if the next appointment isn't for 3 months, what I was doing for the next few weeks was constantly checking on the websites if there were cancellations, and then randomly in July, lots of slots opened up, and that's when I booked 2 weeks in a row with 2 different emails. And 2 weeks ago, I think it was about 2 weeks ago, I went for my test. And by the time this is out, the other DMV video, so I have recorded that day, and fortunately I did pass. For me, the key thing was that I struggled with understanding the questions. They're so different to how the UK theory test is. But talking to Ant did actually help, because he gave the advice of they're just looking to know whether you're going for the safest option in every case.
We've said this in another video that I would summarise it as, for once, the UK system is not as good as the American system. The UK system is silly questions like, if you're driving a tractor on a single lane road, in 1967, what was your stopping distance? Like, how does that relate to today? Here it's, there's a goat, there's a verge, your car is on fire, what should you do? Stop and get out.
They're more scenario-based questions about what would you do if this happens.
Because it seems like they're tricks, but it's not. It's literally, the only answer there should be stop immediately and get out of the car. All of the other stuff is just to kind of throw you off, but the real answer is stop and get out.
And that did help. I passed, and the difference was, so I went prepared, and that is in the other video, but I went prepared with snacks, my iPad, EastEnders downloaded, everything. But then when once I'd passed, you go up to this lady, and then she said, oh, well, I'll just book you in. You don't need your instructor's permit, and did, and why?
No, they same thing for me. I didn't need my instructor's permit, but even if they searched 3 months out, they couldn't book me in directly for the test.
Which is why he then
so
needed
you have to
permit.
then take the instructor's permit. So it's luck, essentially.
Yeah, so fortunately for me, there was a slot. So my skills test is in September, which case I don't need the instructor's permit. So that will be the next session.
So today is the second day it's actually been overcast and cloudy. So they call it monsoon here. I thought monsoon meant a different thing. So it's rained, I think, 2 days in the past month. And
maybe more, in fact.
One of the days was kind of like 10 minutes of showers, but it's rained properly and heavily as we would have in the UK. and it remains hot. It's very similar to when you're in Florida, so it remains 35
And
plus.
it feels quite humid as
Yes,
well. With
very,
it.
very humid because it's wet. But we actually originally started filming out here, and it just
showers.
rained so heavily. And even though this bit's covered, it was coming inside, so we had to take it in. And now we're having to use, for the very first time in 4.5 months, light boxes because there isn't enough natural light.
We've been kind of spoilt here with natural sunlight, so it's so bizarre when you suddenly lose that and it almost seems dark.
Yeah, it does seem quite dark. So it's interesting being here through different seasons.
They keep saying though that this isn't typical. The amount of rainfall isn't that normal for this time of year, and they reckon it's because it was hotter earlier. In other news, I think we mentioned this in the last catch up that we are planning to do for our anniversary and my birthday. We were going to New Orleans and Florida. We've decided to cancel Florida Keys. I think that was going to be across my birthday, but not that it really matters. But we decided to cancel that for another reason. It was adding up a lot. The flights, the keys are not that cheap, so the cost of the hotels across that time.
I would say, I would go further. Traveling in the US is not cheap at all. So there's I don't know if it's a misconception, but there was a time when the US in general was just very cheap. Everything, food, travel, gas, petrol, hotels. The past good few years that we've been coming, it's just not that cheap. And unlike Europe, where you can genuinely get on a plane, fly from the UK to Italy for £40 each way. Okay, you might need a bag, so it might cost you £120 return trip, or you can go to Germany for £29. Here, flights tend to start at like 200, 300, 400, even if it's only a couple of hours away.
And I think that's what threw me off, because I expected flights to be return, I don't know, maximum $500 in total for both.
It's really expensive, and then the hotels all across the US are really, for me, they're too expensive. So what puts me off going to a lot of places is you'll look and they're popular places, but it isn't New York or LA. $300, $400, $500 a night to stay there. So even if you're looking at the cheap one, you're looking at $300 a night. So by the time you've added in 5 nights there, to me, I'm over budget. So I tend to go, no, let's go to Mexico.
And I would say we definitely do want to go to the Keys, so it's not that we won't do it. The other thing that put me off is that's not the best time of year, and we do run the risk. Unlike when you go on holiday for 2 weeks, you leave the UK, you know across that 2 weeks, even if you had really bad weather, it's only going to typically be for a section of that holiday. With us only spending 4 or 5 nights in the Keys, we run the risk of having really bad weather, which then would spoil it, so we decided not to. But we have booked New Orleans, we've got the hotel, we booked the 4 Seasons, which I got a friends and family discount rate for, which is why we booked there. It's not a hotel.
Even then, it's friends and family discount, which is up to 50% or more.
But yeah, anything up to 50%.
And it's still $200 a night.
Yeah.
But
it's the 4 Seasons hotel. So it would be, and it's not, and that was my point. We wouldn't normally pick that type of hotel. As long as it's clean, it's in a good area, we don't really go for super not for me, definitely not. I will never. So that's not normal for us, but in New Orleans, most of the hotels were in and around that price anyway. The thing that got me initially was the flights. At first it was going to cost $1,000 return for the both of us just to go to New Orleans, and then we thought we would cancel, but then we managed to get it for $600 in the end.
Yeah, which is more reasonable, but still not comparable, because the same distance, time flown, 3/10 of the cost of it, 1/3. So it's a little bit frustrating that I want to travel a lot of the US, but they really want to extract the money out of you.
We just realised we have to accept what the prices are if we're willing to go, if we want to travel. And I'm personally really excited and trying the food there, all the different things. It's somewhere I've wanted to go, so looking forward to it. The other thing about the trips, and actually I wanted to ask you guys, because we're not doing Florida Keys, we are still looking into other trips around the US, and There are lots of places that look amazing to go to. Lots of people have mentioned Utah, Colorado, but I was thinking for you guys that have watched this channel, where do you like going? Where have you been to the US? Where has been recommended? Please comment below, because we just want some good ideas. Either places that we can drive. Actually, places we could drive would be ideal.
Yeah, that saves a lot of money. And I don't really mind driving long distances, especially if we're going to stop multiple times along the way. And for me, I really want to go somewhere I can take my bike, because biking here is rubbish. It's really not anything like the UK or places like Germany or France is one of the best places to ride. Not that I've been there, but you can watch the videos.
Yeah.
So if anybody's a mountain biker, let us know where to go to ride bikes that we can drive to.
Because we won't be able to take the bikes on a plane because of
the lithium batteries in them.
The other update that we have is regarding our website. We mentioned it on the last video, but it's www.theantsailway.com. I think I keep missing the last W, but that went live about a week or two ago, and there should be new posts going up every week, but it's really to complement these videos, because I realise if you're looking to move in, sometimes it's not easy to remember the content that we've spoken about. So there'll be posts where you can read the information and just have at hand. But let us know what you would also like to see on the website. We're really open to ideas really on that one. The other thing with, and this is kind of linked back to the travel, is the national interest exception. So I really want to thank Fifi for mentioning on the last update, I think. I can't remember if it was the last update or the how to.
Yeah, it was one of the last two videos.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
I think you mentioned that the national interest exception. So the national interest exception is what allowed us to come to the US. We had to get it for you to get your visa, and then we had to apply again in order to travel. And the problem with that at the time was that it's only valid for 30 days and for one use. But then we found out was it this week, I think?
Yeah, it was this week.
And that was the first time. So when you messaged, that was the first time we'd heard of it, and then suddenly we've done our own research anyway, and then we saw the news coming out. But now we know that with the national interest exception, as long as you've had one approved and the reason hasn't changed, that it's valid for a year.
And multiple uses, which for us, at the time, we were looking at buying a place in the UK, and one of the massive hurdles was the potential that if we go back to the UK, we will not be allowed back into the country. Especially around now. One, it's a major problem anyway, but two, we already booked our trip to New Orleans. So I was thinking, okay, if I don't get allowed back in, I need a 2-week period where I'm not in the UK. So the other way you can come into the US is, it's ridiculous, obviously. You can fly to a country that isn't banned from coming into the US, for example, Mexico. As long as you were not in the UK the previous 14 days, you can then get back into the US. So I was trying to time it that if that was the case, they rejected my NIE, whatever it's called, exception, I would be able to get to another country, spend 2 weeks there, and then fly back into the US. So that saved us a lot of planning and concern. Which brings us on to the other point. We are buying, or we're attempting to buy a place in the UK. We started this process about a month ago, and it's been really difficult because only specialist lenders offer, what are they called? What's the mortgage type?
Oh, international. Is it international?
No, they've got a specific name, but it's it's a foreign mortgage, so expat mortgage is what it's called. So where you are a national of the UK, no longer living in the country, and no longer get paid in British pounds, you then have to have a specialist type of mortgage, which are generally underwritten not by banks. Some building societies do it, and some specialist lenders, probably private equity type places, do that. So in order to get people to respond to me, it's been really difficult. It took about 3 weeks to get the first response. And then after that, they're saying that we can probably give you one, but we won't give you a decision in principle. You need to come to the country, find a place that you want to buy, make the offer on the place, and then tell us, and then we will process it. Now, out of the two, one of them said their processing time is 2 weeks up front, then 2 to 3 weeks at the back end. So I'm thinking, well, how do I do it? So I fly to the UK, find somewhere, tell you where it is, come back, wait 3 weeks, get told yes, come back to the UK, do what I need to do, come back here, and then fly in once, because it normally takes a good 3 months to actually process it. So it's been quite a challenge. So we've gone down the route of now we know that we can fly home, that bit's out. We're going to book some time to come back, probably spend 2 to 3 weeks there finding a place, and hopefully force some mortgage through in that period of time.
Yeah, and it's difficult in the sense of it's unknown. It's unknown because it's not a guaranteed. We're just being told that you need to make the offer, then we can start. It's approximately this time, which means booking the dates for the travel isn't the easiest, because then we're thinking, right, do we just book the one way? Do we book a flexible fare? Do we wait and not book the return and then book the return when we know?
There's a lot of risk in it, but this is, I know I haven't been putting out the finance things, these are the things that you have to do in order to kind of create some sort of security. It's never going to be that easy, and it's never going to be no risk. I thought this would be a lot easier than it is, but it isn't, and that is the risky part of it. It's not risky in terms of our money, because the way I look at it is, if we have cash sitting there, currently, literally we're earning 0% because the cash is sitting in a current account in some parts of it, so that's 0%. The risk that we're taking is potentially we don't get offered the mortgage, but if we do, we can put that money into the home, and from the day somebody moves in, the gross will be 1,000 a month, but your net after everything, because the tax system's so great here, is 500 a month, which is great, because once you've built up a few of those, that's a full-time salary. So sure, there's some risk and there's a lot of headache and a lot of time put in, and a ton of effort.
And possibly free flights.
Possibly free flights, and in fact, that initial capital that you have to spend, you're not going to actually make that back from that house for at least a year. In our case, an example would be, we're probably going to need about 60,000 up front for the home and the stamp duty, and then the free flights are going to cost, they're crazy expensive at the moment, so anywhere from about £3,000 to £7,000 plus car, plus going somewhere. So if you think we're getting rent of 1,000, we're not reclaiming that back for years and years and years, but you have to put this effort in up front.
And it just so happens that when we found out that we can actually travel and thought, okay, we'll and can book the flights, the prices went up.
Massively. They nearly doubled. I think it was either that day or the following day that we worked out we could fly back. Maybe everybody got the news at the same time.
There must have been that. Yes, all the people that have been worried about travelling are now going to travel, so they put their prices up.
Yeah. So I will be taking you along for the journey, so I'll do some pre-recording of what I'm doing.
I should record filming in the airport. He used to make me always do this, like, oh, it's so easy travelling in the airport, do it. We need to encourage him. Tell him that he needs to film his journey to the UK. Including the flight.
Yeah, I know it can be quite stressful, because the one time I tried it, it wasn't that fun at all. And especially after you've done, what was it, like 16 hours, and I'm just like, nope, camera's not going on, forget it. We'll just tell him it happened. So I will record some of the journey, but I'll record the journey of us starting out the process, and then actually buying the place, what it takes to buy the place, how much it costs, how quickly we can get a tenant in, and all of the issues that we run into along the way.
Yeah, and the key thing is, this is actually another unknown for us, in the sense of we've only ever bought property whilst living in the UK and going through the normal process. We're not used to this process of being in another country and also dealing with the restrictions of the pandemic and travel.
And the time delay, so I send an email, I have to wait for the following morning to get it, and then by the time I've responded, they're in bed. So everything is every process is about 3 days, which would normally be you message someone at 8 o'clock, they get back to you at 10. It just doesn't happen that way at the moment. So everything is a 3-day step to get to the next step.
So watch this space.
Finally, it's my EAD. We finally worked out that you have to sign where it says sign.
Yeah, by the way, when you sign for a work permit and wanting one, you need to actually do it. What we didn't do is actually sign the application for it, because that to me was not clear, but we realised afterwards when they sent it
out. Yeah, we didn't realise, they told us. It was quite obscure, they didn't actually tell us, they were just, there's like a standardised response.
It just said that you need to sign your application. We're like, oh, okay.
And then we can only assume, because they've taken the money now to process the application, whereas before it was 7 weeks and the money hadn't left our account And after we sent it back, it was like 2
Yeah,
weeks.
so you got a text, isn't it? So that's how you
Yeah,
found out.
yeah, they texted me and then took $410 to apply to work.
And
seems crazy because you can't work, so they're like, but pay us anyway.
well, what's funny about this, when you submit when you send your application, you have to send them a check for the amount addressed to, I can't remember who, but they tell you exactly the amount and who you need to address it to. But get this, they do not actually cash that check. They don't use it. They take the check and look at the routing number. So imagine in the UK, sort code and account number. They take those details.
Said like a true American, well done. Routing, we would say.
No, but that's what they call it.
No,
So
I
I'm
know.
going to call it there. So it's the routing number. I'm going to stick with that one.
And we're going to take a route to California
No,
soon.
that's brute. No, but it's the
The
routing.
same.
No, but anyway, you know what I mean. And you're disturbing me. As I was saying, they don't actually cash the check. They just process the payment based on the details, which to me is really nonsensical. Why not just have a part on the application where you just put the details in? But instead they ask for the check for you to sign, so that doesn't make any sense.
On that, this was gonna be our last point, but I'll give you another anecdotal. I'm guessing it's Vegas thing. So my dentist had referred me to another dentist to have a root canal done, and I went in and I booked my appointment. One day before my appointment was due, I got a phone call from the place that said, we don't do your insurance type anymore. Sorry, give your insurers a call. So I spent some time trying to work out who did do the insurance, and I just couldn't work it out. And I thought, it's me. It has to be me. I just don't understand the system. I accept that. So I thought, I know what I'll do. I'll drive to my referring dentist, my local dentist. I went down there and they were super, super helpful. They're really nice down there. They spent an hour of their time phoning my insurer, various dentists in the area, various dentists outside of the area, friends to try and... They couldn't work it out. It took them a full hour to get somebody that would accept our insurance type. Now, once they got through, I could tell she was struggling to convey the message. This is somebody native to here. She was getting frustrated, being really nice, but frustrated with them on the phone. She told them my name. They couldn't understand it. So she said, I'll tell you what, I'll send you the referral via email. They don't do anything electronically here. Sent them that over there. Everything should have been fine. I get a text from them, a different time to what they had agreed on the phone, and a different name. Antoine something. It was like completely messed up. Yeah, it was like Antione something.
Oh, wow.
Just like complete mess. Bearing in mind they had this in email form. So, okay, fine, they've messed it up. They've messed up the time and my name. I turn up to the surgery, it's way over, literally the polar opposites. They're in the southeast and we're in the northwest. Turn up to the surgery and the guy, friendly, he's like, oh, you're gonna need to fill in this paperwork. And it was genuinely that thick. It was about 10 pages I had to fill in. And I'm laughing, he's like, oh, but at least we're organised. And I'm thinking, you are the least organised country I've ever been. It's so unorganised here. He's like, oh, but at least we cross our I's and dot our T's. Fine. Did all of that, filled it in, handed it over. Sat down, and the lady come out. She said, oh, Anthony. I was like, do you mean Anton? No, Anthony. I was like, okay, because there was lots of people in the waiting room. It could be an Anthony. I was like, are you sure you don't mean this place? She's like, oh, yeah, I think so. So, but that's Anton. Went to the back into the room. She's like, oh. I was like, what's happened? Something's happened with the computer. They spent 20 minutes at least trying to sort this computer out, calling in one of the managers, her friend, I don't know, colleague, the dentist. They couldn't work it out. So I got up, I had a look at it. They'd pulled the power plug out. 20 minutes, 3 professionals couldn't work it out. And she's like, maybe we just need to wait. Well, not if you've pulled the power out, you don't, because it has to have power in. Plugged it in, they were so thankful and so embarrassed. And I said to them, didn't you just celebrate the 4th of July where you declared independence for the English? Maybe you need to come back under. And the guy that had said about the paperwork being so organised, he was really funny, he took it well. I said to him, remember you said to me about organisation? He's like, yes, I'm sorry, I did say that, I did claim it. But this is just another example. It's so common. Complete mess ups of everything. It doesn't matter whether it's paperwork, dentistry, your name.
There is a lot of issues here with their
So many.
infrastructure. And even the Americans here are always saying about
They're
this.
not from here. Or even the ones that are from here.
I would say everyone mentioned they know there's something that so obviously the guys and the dentists don't know, but then when we were talking to our neighbours, they know about like medical records, how they have to share fax information, carry documents. It's a mess.
It's a real mess, and the fact that somebody can't interpret a plain text email with the name and get that right, they can't work out the time, which Selena experienced herself. And nearly experienced it again. Was it today or yesterday?
I said 7. I don't know what
7:30, and the guy was like, "Huh?"
I don't know which way to say it though. Maybe you guys. Can
Maybe the
tell
Americans
me.
can tell us how to say 7:30 or
7:30 p.m.
7:30.
Is it 7:30? Is it 30 minutes past 7?
Yeah, maybe it's that.
How am I supposed to say it? Tell me.
It's just another anecdotal mess up that happens here, and we have them daily. And now I'm used to it.
You do kind of get used to it. I expect it now. So.
And they always do it with genuinely being nice. It's not that they're doing it to be
they're not
arsey.
rude or arsey.
Yeah, and they're apologetic when they realise that they've messed up or it's taken a lot longer. So you can't really have any sort of dislike because they're nice people. They're just not that sharp. That's it. Is that it?
So that's it for this catch up. A bit longer than we expected as usual, no doubt, but that's always happens. And there's always stories, so we've always got more stories to tell you. So if you like the stories, we can share more of them with you each week. Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, thanks for watching. As usual, if you haven't subscribed yet, do not forget to subscribe. Hit that like button.
Visit the website.
Visit the website, definitely. Let us know what you think in the comment below. Comment on the website as well, because you have the functionality to like and comment, so that would be really useful for us. Thanks for watching.